You want to know the secret to growth. It's not big breakthroughs. It's not waiting for some lightning bolt of inspiration. It's not even talent. It's what you do day in and day out when nobody's watching. Most people think success comes from huge changes, but it doesn't. It comes from small, consistent actions that compound over time. Think about it. Your body, your habits, your confidence, your relationships, your career. They are all the result of what you choose to do every single day. And here's the truth. You already know what to do. You don't need another book, another podcast, or another motivational video to tell you. You know the things that would make your life better. The problem isn't knowledge, it's action. So ask yourself, what are you doing every day to develop yourself? Not once in a while, not when you feel like it. Every single day. If you want confidence, you build it by keeping promises to yourself. Start small, follow through, that's it. If you want focus, you practice shutting out distractions. Not tomorrow day. If you want strength, you move your body, even for 10 minutes. If you want growth, you push yourself into the uncomfortable things you've been avoiding. And don't wait for motivation. It's not coming. Motivation is unreliable. What you need is discipline, the kind that says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. Because here's what's powerful, consistency compounds. 5 minutes a day of progress beats 3 hours once a month. Small wins stack up, and over time, they transform you. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating with yourself. Stop saying someday. Developing yourself isn't about someday, it's about today. Wake up tomorrow and pick one thing, one small action that moves you forward. Do it. Then do it again the next day, and the day after that. That's how you build the life you consistency beats intensity. That's the truth most people don't want to hear because consistency sounds boring. It doesn't give you the instant rush of accomplishment the way intensity does. Anyone can go all in for a day. Anyone can grind for a week, starve themselves on a crash diet, or pull an all-nighter to push through a project. But what separates people who actually change their lives from those who keep starting over is consistency. It's what you do on the ordinary days, not the extraordinary ones, that defines who you become. Think about fitness. Most people set a big goal, hit the gym hard for a week, and then quit because it feels overwhelming. The soreness, the time, the pressure, it all adds up. But the person who shows up for 20 minutes a day, even when they're tired, even when it's not convenient, is the one who actually changes their body. They may not see results instantly, but over weeks, months, and years, the compounding effect of daily action is unstoppable. The same principle applies to everything: finances, relationships, confidence, learning a new skill. It's not what you do once, it's what you repeat. Intensity is seductive because it feels heroic. You can brag about the extreme diet, the insane workout, the all or nothing decision, but consistency is humble. It doesn't shout. It doesn't impress anyone in the moment. It's choosing water over soda every day until you don't even think about it. It's reading 10 pages a night that turn into dozens of books a year. It's waking up 10 minutes earlier, not because it makes you a morning superstar, but because it buys you the space to breathe before the chaos of the day begins. When you rely on intensity, you're relying on willpower, and willpower runs out. That's why people burn out, quit, and then tell themselves they'll start again on Monday. But consistency is built into who you are. It's not about hype or energy. It's about habits. The actions you repeat daily stop being decisions and start being your identity. When you show up for yourself consistently, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You train yourself to trust that you'll follow through. The science of habits backs this up. Your brain wires itself through repetition. The more often you perform an action, the less energy it takes. You no longer have to think about it. It becomes automatic. That's why consistent action, even if it feels small, is more powerful than sporadic bursts of effort. One intense action might change your mood, but consistent action changes your trajectory. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in a year of steady progress, and they overestimate what they can achieve in a week of all-out effort. That's why so many quit. They're chasing intensity instead of building consistency. But the truth is, 5 minutes done daily beats an hour done once in a while, because it's not the size of the action that matters, it's the fact that it's repeated. Consistency doesn't just create results, it creates momentum. Discipline over motivation. That's the shift that changes everything, because motivation is unreliable. It shows up when you're already excited, when something feels new or shiny, when the energy is high and the mood is right. But what about the mornings when you wake up tired, when the weather is bad, when the stress of life presses down on you? Motivation doesn't show up then. It disappears the moment life gets inconvenient. If you're relying on motivation to carry you, you'll never be consistent, and if you're not consistent, you'll never build momentum. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care about how you feel in the moment. It doesn't wait for the perfect conditions. Discipline is showing up when you don't want to. It's doing the thing anyway, whether you're energized or exhausted, whether it's easy or uncomfortable. Discipline is what builds character, because it trains you to follow through on commitments, not moods. When you operate with discipline, your actions stop depending on how you feel, and they start aligning with who you want to become. Motivation gives you the push to start, but discipline is what keeps you moving forward long after the excitement has worn off. Think about someone training for a marathon. Motivation might get them out the door for the first run because it feels inspiring to start. But the real growth happens at mile 6 on a rainy day, when no one is watching, and the couch looks more appealing than the pavement. That's when discipline kicks in. That's when you prove to yourself that you're serious. Discipline also frees you from decision fatigue. When you rely on motivation, you're constantly negotiating with yourself. Should I work out today? Should I study now or later? Should I stick to my plan or skip it? That mental back and forth drains your energy. Discipline cuts through the noise. When you've committed to a daily standard, there's no debate. You do it because that's the rule you set for yourself. It's not a question of if. It's only a question of when. The truth is, discipline creates freedom. At first, it feels restrictive to tell yourself you're going to follow through no matter what. But over time, it removes the weight of procrastination, the guilt of breaking promises to yourself, the stress of starting and stopping. You free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of waiting for the right mood. You stop being controlled by fleeting feelings and start being led by intentional choices. Motivation is about feelings. Discipline is about standards. When you raise your standards and decide that you'll act regardless of your emotions, you become someone unstoppable. It's not that disciplined people don't feel lazy or unmotivated. They do. They just don't obey those feelings. They've built a pattern of action that overrides excuses. That's why disciplined people keep climbing while others stall out. It's not about being stronger or smarter. It's about refusing to depend on a state of mind that is temporary and unpredictable. Keep promises to yourself. That's the foundation of real confidence, because confidence isn't about faking it or standing tall in front of a crowd. It's about trust. If you don't trust yourself to do what you say you'll do, you'll always second, guess, always hesitate, always wonder if you're capable. But when you keep promises to yourself, even the small ones, you prove that you can rely on you. That's where self-respect comes from. It's not about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself when no one else is around. Most people think confidence is something you're either born with or something you magically develop once you achieve a big goal. But confidence is built in the little moments you follow through. When you say you're going to wake up early and you actually do it, you gain evidence that you can count on yourself. When you say you're going to work out and you follow through, even if it's just a short session, you build trust. Every single follow through becomes a deposit into your self-belief account. The more deposits you make, the more confidence you carry. Breaking promises to yourself has the opposite effect. Every time you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow and you don't. Every time you say you'll quit the habit and then repeat it. Every time you let yourself off the hook, you're teaching your brain that your word doesn't matter. Over time, this chips away at your confidence. You stop believing in your own voice. You start doubting your ability to handle challenges because deep down, you know you've built a pattern of letting yourself down. The power of keeping promises to yourself lies in momentum. At first, it's hard. If you're used to negotiating your way out of things, following through feels uncomfortable. But the moment you start honoring even the tiniest commitments, you flip the script. You build momentum, and momentum makes the next promise easier to keep. You begin to feel proud, not because you hit a massive milestone, but because you followed through on what you said you'd do. That pride is what fuels real confidence. Keeping promises to yourself doesn't mean setting massive, overwhelming goals. In fact, that's where most people go wrong. They set the bar too high, fail to reach it, and then reinforce the belief that they can't be trusted. The secret is to start small. Promise yourself something simple and achievable, do it, then increase gradually. Over time, the size of the promise matters less than the streak of follow-through. What you're proving to yourself is that your word is reliable. This is why self-confidence can't be gifted, taught, or faked. It's earned in private, in the small daily actions that nobody claps for. You don't need external validation when you know deep down that you can trust yourself. That's why the most confident people in the room aren't necessarily the loudest or the most charismatic. They're the ones who have built an unshakable track record with themselves. They know that if they say they'll do something, they'll do it. And that quiet certainty radiates outward in everything they do. You said, lean into discomfort. That's where growth lies, because everything you want that you don't currently have sits on the other side of the feelings you're avoiding. Comfort feels safe, it feels familiar, it feels easy, but it also keeps you stuck exactly where you are. When you avoid discomfort, you're really avoiding progress. You're protecting the version of yourself that already exists instead of stepping into the version of yourself you could become. Discomfort is the signal that you're stretching, and stretching is the prerequisite for change. Most people mistake discomfort as a sign that they're doing something wrong. They start a new habit, it feels awkward, and they take that as proof it isn't for them. They try speaking up in a meeting, their voice shakes, and they assume they're not cut out for leadership. They go to the gym, the workout hurts, and they decide exercise isn't for them. The truth is the opposite. That tension you feel is exactly where you need to be. It means you're disrupting old patterns. It means you're creating space for growth. If it feels easy, you're not changing, you're just repeating. Discomfort also reveals your excuses. The moment you hit resistance, the brain looks for a way out. It will tell you you're too tired, too busy, not ready yet. It will try to negotiate your way back into safety, because safety is predictable. But if you can sit in that discomfort and act anyway, you retrain your brain. You teach yourself that you don't need to obey the urge to retreat. That's how resilience is built, not by avoiding resistance, but by pushing into it. Think about the first time you tried something new, whether it was learning a skill, moving to a new place, or meeting new people. The nerves, the awkwardness, the self-doubt, they were all there, and yet once you stayed with it, you grew. What once felt uncomfortable became normal, and what became normal eventually felt easy. That's the process of growth. The uncomfortable becomes the familiar, and then you move into the next level of discomfort. The cycle never ends if you're serious about developing yourself. The reason discomfort is so powerful is that it strips away illusions. When you're challenged, you meet yourself honestly. You see your limits, your habits, your thought patterns. That's where awareness comes in, and awareness is the first step to change. You can't improve what you won't confront, and discomfort forces confrontation. It puts you face to face with the parts of yourself that need work. That's not weakness. That's the training ground for strength. Most breakthroughs in life don't come from avoiding pain. They come from leaning into it with purpose. That's why athletes push through grueling practices, why entrepreneurs take risks, why anyone who transforms themselves embraces the uncomfortable. They understand that comfort zones don't expand on their own. They expand because you deliberately step beyond them, and each time you do, you carry more capacity into every area of your life. You said, win today, then repeat. That's the mindset that simplifies everything, because too many people overwhelm themselves by thinking too far ahead. They obsess about the year, the 5-year plan, the future they want, and in the process, they miss the only moment they can actually control, the day in front of them. The truth is, the future is nothing more than a collection of todays stacked on top of each other. If you win today, and then you repeat that process tomorrow, and then again the next day, the future takes care of itself. Winning today doesn't mean accomplishing everything at once or hitting every goal on your list. It means identifying the actions that matter most and making sure they get done. It's about creating progress, however small, and banking that progress like a deposit. Those small deposits don't feel significant in the moment, but when repeated daily, they create massive change. If you try to think about climbing the whole mountain, it feels overwhelming. If you focus on taking one step today, and then repeating that step again tomorrow, you're already moving upward. People underestimate the power of small wins because they're always chasing big ones. They want dramatic results, the kind that can be measured instantly. But growth doesn't work like that. It happens quietly, slowly, underneath the surface of your daily habits. You don't notice the difference after one day or even 1 week, but after months of consistent small wins, the evidence becomes undeniable. Winning today is less about the size of the victory and more about the fact that you've built a streak. And once you have a streak, momentum takes over. The challenge is that most people sabotage themselves by focusing on tomorrow before they've even won today. They tell themselves they'll start after the weekend, they'll get serious when the timing is right, they'll go all in when life calms down. But life never fully calms down, and the perfect time never arrives. What you have is the day you're in right now. You win it by showing up, by honoring the commitments you've made, by choosing progress over procrastination. If you can do that once, you can do it again, and repetition is where strength is built. Winning today also builds credibility with yourself. When you prove that you can handle the day in front of you, you stop being paralyzed by the thought of the weeks and months ahead. Big goals shrink down to manageable steps. Challenges that once felt impossible start to look like a series of daily wins waiting to be claimed. The confidence comes not from knowing you can conquer the future, but from knowing you can handle today. And tomorrow, when today becomes yesterday, you apply the same mindset again. This approach also strips away the excuses. You don't need to figure everything out. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You only need to focus on one question: what can I do today that moves me forward? If you answer that question honestly and act on it, you've already won. And once you've won, the only job left is to repeat.